Welcome back, folks, to Pits to Podium. It is finally time for yet another video previewing the Italian Grand Prix. It is myself, Soumil, Arora, here with Kunal, Shah, as always. And before we start out with anything regarding the Grand Prix, firstly, Kunal, congratulations, you're a father for the first time.
Thanks, Soumil. It's like making my debut on the weekend of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. It feels awesome. I think I've done a fair amount of pit stops already, and in a couple of days' time, maybe by Mugello, I should have, I should be doing record pit stop timings myself.
There's going to be a lot more. There's definitely going to be a lot more. But of course, very special time in your life. Once again, congrats on that. And
Thanks
also,
very much.
on Pitch to Podium, folks, you have to subscribe. Why should you not? We've got so much incredible content coming your way. We had William Panisi, the chief, I think, communications officer. Yeah,
That's
of
correct.
Alfa Romeo. Yeah. Mark Sutton, the legendary Formula One photographer. We've got Alex Lynn. We've got Michael Italiano, Daniel Ricciardo's fitness trainer, and most recently, the amazing Circus F1 comic. He is an absolute gem of an artist. So all that stuff is available on the top right-hand corner where you can check out our playlist right there. But let's get back to the Belgian, not the Belgian GP, the Italian GP, in fact, because this is Ferrari's 999th Grand Prix and also Williams's first, not that rather second under new ownership, but the first without the Williams team managing everything. It's going to be a crazy weekend, isn't it?
It is, and it's Monza, very historic. Ferrari historic numbers. Another historic number that stayed with me through the races, through the season, is that Sebastian Vettel has actually had very few laps in the top 10 itself. And waits to see if Ferrari will continue to be an embarrassment at Monza, their home race, or not. I personally get a feeling that they've realized that the best thing to do is just admit that guys, we're slow. It's going to take time, and just buy time from the Tifosi.
But how can you? How can you buy time when it's your 999th Grand Prix at your home at Monza, where you've had so many special memories as a team? I mean, be it back in the pre-war days or post-war, or in the 90s or the thousands, you've got so many incredible memories, but it all just seems to be coming to such an anticlimax again. And I think that's the first point that we must get down into about Ferrari. What's going to happen? Because critically, Kunal, we saw in Belgium that in the race, their top speeds were higher. Now, this is down to a lot of factors. I mean, largely due to the fact that Leclerc was running a low downforce setup, and he got the advantage of DRS in the mid-pack, and the other drivers were setting a high downforce setup as well. But what do you expect in Monza, where everyone's going to be on a low downforce setup, and Ferrari has nowhere to run and hide?
They will be on luck again. They'll be hoping that their car is, able to perform. Like Ross Brawn very nicely pointed out, that they're struggling to get consistent performances from their tires. In the low downforce trim, it's even more so about aero efficiency as well as braking efficiencies, as we know, because these cars are so complex. You change one little thing and everything else on the car has to sort of, be in synchronous movement with that change. So it will be interesting to see. I think, forget competing at the top end. They might not even be able to beat Renault for one more race this season.
Exactly. It's going to be a very fun thing. Ferrari versus Renault is primarily going to be the battle in the midfield, but we shall come to that later on. But interestingly enough, Ferrari's second driver, oh, wait, he's supposed to be the first driver, but he's more of a second driver right now. Sebastian Vettel has just purchased the legendary Williams FW14B. And that leads us very well on to the next topic, which is supposed to be Williams, in fact. And this actually, just a correction from the initial statement that I made, this is not going to be the first Williams race without the Williams team managing. It's going to be the last race in the history of the team with the family involved. So what's it going to be like, Kunal? I'm pretty sure it's going to be very emotional. And sadly for them, I don't think Williams has the best of low downforce packages, as we saw last week in Spa.
It is again, pretty historic that the Williams surname will no longer be officially associated with the sport after years of giving us some brilliant performances. But I'm going to just step back, when you said about Vettel buying the legendary Williams racing car. Maybe the memo was that he goes and buys Williams for himself, but he realized that probably just buying one of the historic cars makes more sense than buying the historic team. But it is actually egg on face for Claire Williams, because, I sat through media sessions for the Belgian Grand Prix, and She was saying very boldly that it's business as usual for now. There is no management change for now. And, when you look back, it
Yeah,
was just, 3.5 days ago that she made these statements. So, not the best way to sort of make an announcement about, bringing in a new management, but understandably why the new owners would do that,
yeah,
because they're bringing in the capital that the team needs to perform. And they can't be saying, okay, the management is great, the results are great, but here's the money. It's
exactly.
actually the opposite, that okay, the results are not great, so can we first start by changing the management, because there are new shareholders and investors to sort of please and prove a point to.
Exactly. It's going to be a completely new board of directors now. We've got three new board of directors coming in and shaping up the future of the team. And if you want to know more about why Williams have reached in this scenario, you can click the top right corner of the video where we have our video exactly diving down deeper into this whole matter and analyzing why Williams have reached this stage. And also, we have discussed what changes could have been made, and that was around 3-4 months ago. So it still pretty much holds valid, even though they've got new management. The points remain exactly the same. They needed something big. They needed a big philosophical change. Now, we don't know whether that change is going to come in very soon because, of course, new management takes time to implement their own decisions. But you can bet your bottom dollar on the fact that Williams are going to change for the better or for the worse. That we shall see later on. But yeah, something big is going to happen at that very team. And now from Williams, we can
And
actually
just to pause you, the one
go on.
summarized word of Williams that the management should change
Yeah,
is what you and I coined as politically irrelevant to
politically
Formula One.
relevant. Yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
one thing that the new owners would want to go and make sure they are able to change, given the history and the backing,
exactly.
and the fact that they're one of the first new team owners under the new regulations and the budget cap and so on. So let's see how that progresses off track.
Absolutely. That's a super point that you made right there. That is exactly the reason why Williams have struggled so much. But let's hope for the best. They're a team connected to the memories of so many fans. Not me personally, because when I grew up, Williams was still in the midfield, but lots of big memories that this team has created. So let's hope for the very best for Williams. But I think the next thing we can speak about is what's going to happen in the midfield. And the star performer from the midfield the last time out, Kunal, was Renault, P4 and P5 in the Belgian GP. They were on fire. We've spoken about it in much depth in our debrief video in the race about what really went right. But from the looks of things, they should be at a really big advantage this weekend as well because Monza, low downforce, and their low downforce package worked extremely well in Spa.
Yes, and you and I were the first ones to call it out in the race preview for Spa,
Yeah,
that Renault have a really well balanced, low downforce setup that they've used with good success last year at Monza itself, and to be able to show the same thing at Spa again, brilliance. It also shows Formula One that Daniel Ricciardo may no longer be a front running team driver, but you give him that one chance, and
oh,
there's
yes.
a I'll bet my top dollar that he'll take it, and then even for Esteban Ocon to show up that he's still settled into a cramped season after a break and
Yeah.
so on. So I would definitely bet my money on Renault entertaining us yet one more time this weekend.
But they're not alone because Racing Point traditionally have been very good in circuits with low downforce. Now, that was historically. Now that they've become essentially the pink Mercedes, and the Mercedes car from 2019 was obviously very strong in high downforce situations, we saw them struggle a bit more in the timing charts, at least in the speed traps in Spa-Francorchamps. So perhaps, unlike what history would suggest, this may not exactly be their strongest circuit. So this would allow the likes of Renault, Ferrari, not really. Perhaps McLaren to go on and bounce on the same thing this weekend.
Yeah, I remember one of my strongest memories when I worked at Force India was Adrian Sutil scoring a fourth place.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year, but I know that it was very well celebrated. Especially when you're a midfield team and so on. You have to celebrate these moments. But you're right. That the team historically have done well, but with the new Mercedes design philosophy that they've taken, maybe they are yet to find a setup, compromise that sort of helps them helps them perform on low downforce. At circuits like Spa, where you have to have a low as well as a high downforce
Yeah.
compromise. Given the characteristics. But you never know. I'm always excited to see what Sergio Perez can come up with, because he's another driver like Daniel Ricciardo. You give him half a chance, and
Yeah.
he'll convert it into a full chance. But that just makes it's that much more fun for us, because you have Renault that's suddenly peaking right now, and you always believe Racing Point could be there as well. McLaren are always due a good result,
Yeah.
and Ferrari are always desperate to show that they are a little better than the midfield class right now.
Exactly. But let's be honest, they're not. It's going to be a tricky next couple of weekends for them, because at Monza, their low downforce setup combined with the engine, just maybe not the brightest of signs for Ferrari. And then in Mugello, a circuit where you need all the support in the world from the downforce, and they just don't have it. So could be a tough weekend for Ferrari going ahead. But that just brings us on to, let's say, some of their customer teams exactly, because Alfa Romeo or Sauber, whatever you'd like to call them, they have the Ferrari power units. And let's be brutally honest, ever since the controversy of the power units stirred about, I mean, Ferrari having that secret agreement, or settlement rather, with the FIA in February, since then the performance of those power units has dramatically gone down. And Alfa Romeo have had suffered big time because of that. We saw that in Austria, we saw that in Silverstone as well. Do you expect more of the same here in Monza, which is literally a circuit with a few straights and a couple of left-right corners here and there?
Of course, Ferrari have been penalized given the approach they took with the power unit last year, and then the settlement they had with the FIA and likes. And given how we all humans think, the first thing we want to do is, okay, there you go, they were cheating, and they've reached a compromise. Why not make it public fair? I think that's fair to think down that road. But I also don't think that their deficit is only down to the engine performance. It's probably the for example, the loss that they've had on the engine side, they've not been able to make up that on the chassis side or the
Exactly.
aero side, and so on. So they've just sort of taken a step back and are now needing to take a massive leap forward to go back to being, where Ferrari should be. And, even the likes of Helmut Marko have said that, Ferrari are a myth, and, they need to be doing well in Formula One.
Exactly. They need to. This is their primary motorsport marketing campaign. This is where all their money is. And until rather, I should say, the budget cap comes in, they're not going to be going anywhere. Not even the WEC, not IndyCar, nothing. So this is where all their stake and reputation lies in. And it's not like if they finish in P13, their reputation as a brand will die down. But as fans, we love to see Ferrari doing well. I mean, as Sebastian Vettel put it very well in 2016, even if you're not a Ferrari fan, you are a Ferrari fan. So it's let's hope that they come back stronger in the next couple of years. But that's for the future. Let's focus on the here and now. And in the here and now, one driver has been doing extremely well, and he's one certain Frenchman who goes by the name of Pierre Gasly. Could it be a good weekend for him with AlphaTauri this time out?
The one thing I always believe works massively well in the world of sport is momentum. Okay. And Pierre Gasly, of course, got reverse momentum last year when he was demoted just around this time. But he sort of picked himself back. He had a podium in Brazil, which was, given different conditions that were there at the circuit. But starting 2020, he has had such massive forward momentum that he is making sure Red Bull sit up and take notice and wonder if Pierre could actually do as well in the Red Bull racing car and not just AlphaTauri. Because, at this moment, Red Bull are, of course, making a reference to what he did, in the first half of 2019, which was that he was slow back then. And as we see now, Alexander Albon, poor chap, is also struggling to sort of match pace with Max Verstappen. But Pierre Gasly's momentum is leading him to some brilliant results. And it's making fans realize that, it is a very cutthroat world of Formula One, especially if you're in the Red Bull Junior Driver program. But it is not beyond human self to sort of get demoted and still bounce back, as Pierre Gasly has shown us.
He's been doing an extremely good job. And for Gasly, it is so refreshing to see his new run of confidence, because at the end of his stint with Red Bull, he really looked very dejected. And then the results followed on. So it's a very refreshing thing to see Pierre Gasly doing so well. And now that I mean, it's been just a midfield wrap up so far since the very beginning. So let's focus a bit more on the top because there is still a lot more happening. Thankfully for Valtteri Bottas, it's a longer season now. It's not just 11 rounds. So this gives him a little more, a few more opportunities rather to show that, okay, I can be the man. But we saw in Spa last week, Bottas just backing off a bit too much in the early part. And perhaps that was a critical factor because, as we've discussed so many times, the start has become so critical in Formula One these days. So for Valtteri Bottas, there are more opportunities on the line right now, but is he there yet? Do you expect a strong challenge to be mounted by Valtteri? And what can Red Bull do? I mean, traditionally, you don't really expect them to do very well because they're supposed to be the more high downforce kind of team, and Monza just kind of goes away from them.
I expect that Mercedes will up their performance in Monza and Mugello just because they are Ferrari circuits, okay? Just because they are, historic races for Ferrari. And when I say just because, I mean, I don't mean only because of that, but what I mean is that it's even more so a reason for them to do well. Because let's keep in mind that they are road car rivals, and
Yeah.
what better than sort of hammering it, at their home races, okay? And with the engine mode ban coming in from this weekend, let's see what impact it would be in the qualifying order. And frankly, the order is not going to change. I just think Mercedes might not be as much out at the front than they've been up until now, but I do expect that they will have more engine life to play around with in race trim. So my money is, of course, on Mercedes still going and scoring their 1-2. Coming to Valtteri Bottas, I think you and I we should just record that one clip which we replay for every race.
Every race, yeah.
Because, he's got everything he needs. And he showed again at the start of the season that he is strong enough. But Lewis Hamilton is just able to go that one gear higher, which is so difficult for pretty much most drivers to match.
He is Lewis Hamilton for that very reason. I mean, a normal driver would max out at 7 gears. Lewis Hamilton has that extra 8th gear in the bag almost always. There's only the greats that can extract that level of a performance. And if he wins this weekend, he will be one victory shy of Michael Schumacher's 91 Grand Prix record, which, if he wins at Mugello, will be tied at Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix. Let that sink in. Take it with a big pinch of salt, this one. It's going to be probably the most symbolic of victories, probably in the history of Formula One, about how Ferrari has slipped up and how here he is, Lewis Hamilton, the man, dominating for 6, 7, 8 odd years and showing why he is probably one of the greatest ever drivers to touch foot on the earth.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant headline even for Mercedes, right? That Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton equals, Michael Schumacher's race wins of 91 while he was at Ferrari and so on. So great PR story for Mercedes as well. And remember, that's one of the main reasons why they're also racing in Formula One, to show the world their might in building some really superior, superior tech enabled cars.
Absolutely. Mamma mia is what the Ferrari fans will say if that happens at Mugello. But finally, Kunal, just to wrap it all off, what are your predictions for Monza? We've discussed the big overview in depth. What do you think is going to be a top three? And who do you think is going to be the standout driver from this weekend?
I would still go with Daniel Ricciardo as a standout driver, okay? And I would hope that he gets that half a chance to get a podium. He gets to go wheel to wheel with Max. Like he, for example, in Spa, he backed off. He said he didn't want to ruin his race chances battling Max. But maybe in Monza, he has a better chance to actually take the battle to the Red Bull Racing cars.
Yeah.
But you never know if we still have a Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen podium finish. And that might just be another record in, Formula One by the end of 2021. That
exactly,
suddenly Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas have the maximum podium finishes registered in the sport.
Exactly. That is going to be fascinating. But all that is to come on this weekend, folks. That is going to be so much fun to watch out for. As always, Kunal, thank you so much for being a part of this video. And if you've reached so far, thank you so very much for watching. It means so much to us. If you like this video, leave it a like, leave a like, in fact, leave a comment as well if you like this one. And also share this video with all your friends and family members who are big fans of Formula One. As always, folks, thank you for watching and see you for the post-race debrief on Sunday night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Soumil. Bye, guys.